paradigm of absolute control. And that's why we're just out here doing simple things, pointing out that we're meant to be in nature and be natural. And this is where we find the source that God made to transcend the New World Order. And that's why they want to try to keep us out of it.
I'm angry. I've had enough of these people. They're a bunch of Christian murderers, scum. They're on giant death factories, keeping babies alive and selling their body parts. What more do you need to know about these people? I go out and face these scum. They literally crawl out from under rocks. They have green looking skin and they run around screaming, we love Satan, we wanna eat babies. I have them on video. Hillary's in the creepy, weird, sick stuff, man. She sleeps in the same room with that creepy, weird woman whose mother wears a hood over her head. What the hell? That woman number one is ugly. Imagine how bad she smells, man. I'm told her and Obama just stink. Obama and Hillary both smell like sulfur. Literal vampire pot and the goblins are hobbling round, coming after us. My spirit gets close to that evil and I feel it go. We're such self-centered crap, we don't even notice hell itself rising up against us. Millions of pointed people of the very worst type, and I'm so pissed. We're gonna stab your daughter at the mall. We're gonna stab your wife, your son. We're gonna stab you with a butcher knife, and then the police chief is gonna say, we love our Somalis, we love our Muslims. Oh, they're so good, oh, they're so sweet.
I was watching Fox News as I worked out this morning.
Whores in this house. There's some whores in this house. There's some whores in this house. There's some whores in this house.
I said certified freak. 7 days a week. Wet ass P word. Make that pullout game weak. Yeah, you effin' with some wet ass P word. Bring a bucket and a mop for this wet ass P word. Give me everything you've got for this wet ass P word. Beat it up, N word, catch a charge. Extra large and extra hard. Put this P word right in your face. Swipe your nose like a credit card. Hop on top, I wanna ride. I do a kegel while it's inside. Spit in my mouth, look in my eyes. This P word is wet, come take a dive. And continue along these lines. And it gets significantly more vulgar. Like, a lot more vulgar.
I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat your ass. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat you. I will eat your ass. My children aren't going hungry. I'll do it. I'll drink your blood. And I'm starting to think about having to eat my neighbors. You think I like size it up? I'm gonna haul him up by chain. Chop his ass up, size it up. I'm gonna haul him up by chain. Chop, 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 chop. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat your ass. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat you. I will eat your ass. I'll barbecue your ass flat. I will cook your ass up so fast, and I'll tell them, oh, I killed a cow out back, baby. You think Christ would eat somebody? He would never do that. I will. I'm ready to hang them up, gut them and skin them and chop them up. You know what? I'm ready. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat your ass. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat you. I will eat your ass. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. your ass first. I swear to God, if it's the last thing I do, I'm gonna get my hands around your throat.
What rolls downstairs, a motor in pairs, rolls over your neighbor's dog? What's great for a snack and fits on your back? It's long, long, long. It's long, long. It's big, it's heavy, it's wood. It's long, long. It's better than that, it's good. Everyone wants a log. You're gonna love it long. Come on and get your log. Everyone needs a log.
Log from Blammo.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Be Weird broadcast. We're coming at you live from Northern Ontario. It's a bit of a different stream today just because I'm waking up. It's early, it's Christmas Eve. Eating and sleeping in and all the things you gotta do in this period to get yourself fresh and collected. But yeah, how's it going? Welcome to another Be Weird broadcast. It is Christmas Eve, everybody, let's go! Christians in the chat, be eating good tonight. Alright, we're gonna look at some really good content. Just chilling, just vibing. I'm super tired. We're catching up on Logan Paul's scam. I am super excited for this. It's gonna be really good. And if we have time, we're gonna take a look at the new JCS that just dropped. If you don't know what JCS is, get ready. Some of the craziest content on YouTube, and it's honestly been a whole journey just for him to keep his content up on YouTube. So after a really long drought, we're finally getting some new JCS. It's going to be really good. I'm really excited. So yeah, let's get into it. And I'm totally skipping on the big like politics news of the day, but that's cool. All right, yeah, here we go. Okay, so this is Coffeezilla.
6 months I've been working on my own NFT project.
Here we go.
For the last 6 months I've been working on my own NFT project. CryptoZoo.co. It's a really fun game that makes you money.
I lost around $50,000 in CryptoZoo.
I lost $40,000.
$500,000 Australian.
I'm telling you, it's just a picture. There's nothing I could do with it.
Wait, you can't even hatch?
No.
Can't hatch.
We had an issue with CryptoZoo where our lead developer took the code that he made, fled to Switzerland, and like held it hostage for $1 million.
None of that was true.
Anything at all, ever. Eddie promised me, 5% tokens and $1 million. He never paid me.
Wait a second.
Wait,
who's
what?
Eddie? I thought that all of this was Logan Paul. What's this random guy
Dickens.
doing in Logan Paul's project? And who is he? Who is Eddie Ibanez?
All right, man. Let's go.
To begin answering the question of who Eddie is, I decided to take a deep dive.
I started by looking through all the news articles I could on Eddie, where I found out he graduated from MIT, and from there became a data scientist and cybersecurity expert, and used that technical background to win a Super Bowl for the Eagles. And there were videos on him too, which all painted him as brilliant and extremely accomplished.
Yes, hi, my name's Eddie Ibanez. I'm a father of 3, lead developer here at CryptoZoo.
As a teenager, he successfully hacked AOL from his bedroom. He continued to pursue computer science until attending MIT. He was then recruited out to work for a government agency in cybersecurity, developing software that reverse engineers the location of known government and terrorist threats.
You started with the federal government, and you started off really tracking criminals with burner phones and all.
Honestly, after this whole search, I felt more confused than ever. If Eddie's such an amazing guy, why didn't he pay developers? And is he really the puppet master behind CryptoZoo? Or is it someone else? Honestly, I felt like at this point I needed a drink, and I needed to ask for help.
Coffee, how's it going?
I like that
Not
he's keeping
good.
this going.
Oh, what happened?
Well, I'm confused about this Eddie Ibanez guy. He comes out of nowhere with this CryptoZoo story, and everything about him I find seems great.
So, what's the problem?
Well, everything's not great. Everything about this guy just seems too perfect.
Oh,
He's
geez.
an MIT
Yo.
grad, he works for the
Whoa,
military.
whoa,
He even claims he won a Super Bowl. Why would
Whoa, whoa,
that
whoa,
guy
whoa.
work for Logan?
Yo, public producer, how you doing? How you been? How's it going? How are you? Hey, everybody. How's it going? We're watching some lovely chill vibes. You're a little drunk. Just a little drunk. Oh, I should have jumped into your stream. I got up really late. I've been barely making it to my own stream. How you doing? How's the stream? Dare I ask if you've beaten Dark Souls 3 yet? But we're watching the Coffeezilla. Your sleep schedule has changed massively. Oh, okay. Okay. You didn't play it today? Oh, okay. You'll get there. You'll get there. I believe in you. Chat believes in you. But yeah, we're watching we got 2 really good videos lined up, and it's the investigation into the Logan Paul scam. If you haven't heard word of this, like, Logan Paul's been running this like weird gaming scam, apparently, and Coffeezilla is just exploding it. And then we got new JCS, which probably won't fit the Christmas vibes, but I just need to be able to focus, and I keep getting distracted. Logan Paul is a scammer? I know, it's news to me too. But yeah, if you haven't been here, welcome to the B-Word broadcast. Thank you for the raid, of course, Public Loser. You're such a sweetie. It's nice to see like all the year-end streamers kind of like reflecting on where they've been and, you know, all that stuff. So we're gonna keep watching this. If you're new to the stream, please refresh your browser and give a follow. If you, I mean, obviously, you know Public Loser. So let's keep watching. And right now, all we've covered is that Coffeezilla is trying to get closer to this conflict where Logan Paul says some developer absconded with all their code, took all their beautiful, delicious code and ran away with it. And the developer's like, nah, this guy named Eddie never paid me for me and my team of 20 developers. So I just took my work home and said, thank you, goodbye, you're a bad client. And so Coffeezilla's trying to dig a bit deeper. And at the heart of this is a bunch of people who lost a lot of money, like a lot of money. It's not exactly, it's not a feel-good story. I'm sorry, chat. Stole the code? Well, like if I'm working on my GitHub and I just say this person no longer has access, I have stolen the code. I have just cut them out of access. And I think if you're a developer and someone hasn't paid you in a month to 3 months and you're paying, I think he said he was losing $10,000 a day or $10,000 a week, something crazy in salary. Yeah. You got to cut that cord at some point. There are bad clients out there who will just try to just take as much as they can, milk the almond for all it's worth. Okay, so let's get into it. Yeah, exactly. Logan Paul doesn't sound like one of those upstanding individuals. Good boxer though.
Logan Paul.
So he has this weird shtick, Coffeezilla, where he talks with a robot to kind of like build a narrative. So right now he's talking to the robot about like who this Eddie guy is, and if he's so good at his job, why wasn't he paying the developer who stole the code? The plot thickens, part 2.
But I can find out. You said his name is Eddie Ibanez?
I think he goes by Eduardo technically, but
Ooh,
wait, what
breakfast.
are you doing?
Yeah, I'm hiding from the breakfast.
Looking around. And
breakfast
done.
while drunk some stuff.
What'd you find?
Few red flags, couple of misdemeanors. Ooh, a few court cases. I'll send him over. He got sued by his landlord for not paying rent. Sued by his credit card company for not paying his bill.
You can skip that stuff. I just need whatever's relevant to CryptoZoo.
Well, that's basically it. Other than, hold on. No, wait, I did find something. Look at this.
What's this?
It's from a paper in Philly. I barely picked it up. This reporter says Eddie's entire story is fake.
Wait, what?
Yeah, the whole Eddie Ibanez character. This guy Adam Robb investigated it. He says it's a lie.
I gotta find this guy. Send me his info. I got
Cook
some
tomorrow.
calls to make.
Coffee.
Do you know what you're making?
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We met up with Adam Robb, the reporter who's been
Yay.
investigating Eddie
coffee,
Ibanez
so
for a while now.
different.
And I wanted to know, what did Adam think of him when they first met?
I wasn't quite sure what to make of him. Based on what I knew about him, he was a MIT grad who went on to work for the CIA and the Defense Department, and I didn't want to waste his time. And it wasn't long after I sat down that I realized he was wasting my time.
No.
Can you tell me
Don't
about
waste my
some
time.
of the lies Eddie told you?
Eddie has told me so many lies over the course of my 2 interviews with him.
No.
And the first lie he told me is probably the oldest lie that he's told so many people, which is that he's an orphan. I first realized Eddie might be lying to me when I went home the next day
Who lies about
and Googled Eddie Ibanez's family.
Oh,
I
no.
found a video of Eddie and his wife making rice pudding on a Fox and Friends segment on
Wait,
Fox
what?
News. And Eddie's wife, Jackie, explained that she learned the recipe from Eddie's mother.
So in the picture, you've got Jackie Ibanez. You know her, along with her husband Eddie and her 2 little girls.
Oh,
They
that's
love rice
awesome.
pudding. Why is this a
Yes.
family recipe?
Okay, so Eddie's mom made this rice pudding once.
Wait, Eddie's mom? I thought Eddie was an orphan. Well, it turns out the only problem with that is that not only does his mom exist, she's alive and in his life. And it turns out it wasn't just Adam that heard this story either. He told it a lot.
Did you ever meet his mother or his parents?
I did meet his mother.
Did he ever tell you he was an orphan?
Yes.
How did he square that with you?
So that's why I'm so confused. He told me he was an orphan and all this stuff, but then I meet his mom.
He told me he was an orphan and then I met his mother. Is quite the string of words.
Yeah.
But as insane as these lies are, let's be real. It doesn't explain why CryptoZoo failed. But the next lies kind of do. Because part of Eddie's story is also that he went to MIT where he was recruited to the CIA. And it's part of why he was so attractive as a lead developer. All the wild experiences that he had had. But it's just not true.
I emailed the MIT registrar's office and I asked if Eddie Ibanez attended the school. And they confirmed in absolute terms that he never attended MIT.
That's right. The whole orphan to MIT origin story, it wasn't true. And Eddie's whole backstory from here kind of falls apart as well. How could he have been recruited to a government agency out of MIT if he never went to MIT? If this is all seeming crazy to you, you might ask yourself, who would believe all this? And this is where Eddie shines. He kind of had a gift for getting people to believe in the lies he told.
That black and white
Especially
side.
super rich and powerful people for some reason. Like take for instance, this story. Him winning the Super Bowl for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Remember, chat, rich people are just as enfeebled by their mortal needs as you are. They can be shocked and silenced and scared, and they're just people like you or I. You know, you don't have to treat rich people differently.
He managed to convince the owner of the New York Yankees that it was true, Barry Klarberg, who completely bought into it without question and told the same story later in a college seminar.
Let's jump right into the work that you did for the Philadelphia Eagles, which led to a Super Bowl championship, led to you getting a Super Bowl ring.
Yep.
Tell us exactly what your job was to do for them and how it worked out.
No, sure thing. So first off, they said like, we don't know where to put you, but and then the sports science guy was the one guy. He's like, hey, I got some data. I'm interested. So so we took in his data, and then we found out that these players, what happens is it's like a player as they run around, they get at certain fatigue levels. So if you ever played Street Fighter, the video game, there's like a red bar at the top, and every time you get hit, that red bar goes down until you die, KO, right? So then we're trying to figure out kind of what that is for a player, and on an injury level, right? There's an injury bar that gets knocked down and that gets KO.
This is insane. He convinced an owner of the Yankees that he won a Super Bowl by turning sports athletes into Street Fighter characters. And of course, none of it's true. The Philadelphia Eagles responded to a fact check saying he never worked for their player analysis team.
Oof.
Not only that, the Eagles also said that Eddie did try to do an in-person presentation in March of 2018, but that was already a month after the Eagles had already won the Super Bowl. And also they didn't hire him because of course not. Meaning there's no way this story is true. And yet he's convinced people at the highest levels of sports that it is. And this is where we get back to CryptoZoo, of course, because it's how he got involved with that project. Remember Jeff Levin, Logan's manager, who we spoke to last time? Well, he also spoke to Adam Robb. And when he told him the reasons he liked Eddie, they sounded very familiar.
And did he tell you, I guess, kind of like about like working with the NFL and that kind of stuff and the whole, like his time in the CIA and all that?
He did. And it was interesting. It was like, this is wild, like, that's pretty cool. But he's humble, and he's not like ever bragging or anything like that.
No.
Wait, but he is bragging. He literally made it all up. The CIA, NFL stories aren't true. How could that not be bragging? But that's the...
I mean, I've worked at the Canadian equivalent of the CIA, CSIS, for many years. They hired me on for crypto analysis and cryptography. It's true.
Impression Eddie gave off. But that's not all. Because
Believe me.
Eddie didn't just use made-up stories to get in with the CryptoZoo team. He also used his other connections, his real millionaire and billionaire friends that he's managed to gain with all these fake stories, and some of them vouched for him. people like Chris Birch and Todd Morley.
And what was the thing that kind of like sold you on Eddie? Was it the fact that like Chris and Todd and people like that kind of like have backed him in the past and like?
I just think he's a down-to-earth, cool, humble guy.
Okay.
Who's been super successful. They're trying to do with an agenda, and he's just kind of like, hey, look, I'm super smart in what I know, and I have amazing relationships through business that I've done.
It's incredible. I mean, how does this guy keep getting away with it? Honestly,
it feels like you carry a clipboard or a ladder and it gets you into all sorts of places because people assume that you belong. And what this guy's done is just like gotten his fingertips or his, sort of like a toe's worth into a certain space, into a rich person's space, so he can name drop them and just like be a cool guy and prey on people who are, I guess, insecure and have way too much money, more money than sense.
It's baffling. But I've got to say, up till now, everyone's been fooled sort of fair and square on the same grounds. But I found out CryptoZoo did have an advantage that could have saved them all this trouble the whole time.
So a month before the launch of CryptoZoo, I got on the phone with Jeff Levin, Logan Paul's manager. And after he spoke fondly of Eddie and his work, I confronted him about some of Eddie's lies, including how he didn't work for the NFL. Jeff told me he doesn't know much about the NFL, but he knows about the business world. And Chris Birch and Todd Morley vouched for Eddie. And so Jeff and Logan were going to continue working with him. Have you ever verified that anything Eddie said about himself is true?
We verified that it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely talk to people.
Okay.
And his friends and, and people that he said he has relationships with, which we've confirmed them for sure.
Okay, because I had trouble with some of that, like, with the NFL, like, saying that, like, no, we've never worked with him, and that kind of thing. But you've had...
The NFL saying that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like who at the NFL?
The comms teams for the Eagles and the Dolphins. And then the people specifically that he named that he said he worked with.
Got it. I don't know necessarily the football stuff.
Okay.
I don't have relationships in the football world.
Sure.
But in the business world, we've definitely talked to multiple people.
Like Todd and Chris, and they backed him.
Correct.
Wait a second. This means at minimum, Jeff knew about Eddie's background beforehand, or part of it, and still decided to go with it. This is just unbelievable, willful stupidity. And since Jeff is Logan's manager, I assume him and the team should have known about this as well. But still, they went forward with it even though they knew this stuff before launch. Now, I started to reach out for comments about this because obviously this is a huge deal. But when I did, I got a call from somebody new. Someone with a different perspective that I hadn't heard from before. Jake, the Crypto King. He's been involved with some of Logan's projects in the past, like Pokemon, for example. He was called the Collectibles Guru a few years ago. Nowadays, he goes by Crypto King.
I think Logan Paul is going to respond to all of this on January 3rd on his podcast, Impulsive. So we'll probably want to watch that live.
And he's an advisor for the CryptoZoo project. So let's add him to the conspiracy board. But the question is, what did he have to say? I took a call with him, and he mostly wanted to talk off the record. But when I pressed him, he was willing to at least put one thing on the record for me. Right. One more thing about Eddie before we get off of him. We actually...
The biggest reason it failed, in my opinion.
Okay.
Because I don't want it to ever be thought that Logan's the reason it failed. He's not. Logan wasn't smart enough for what he tried to build. And then when it was built and was failing,
just called Logan
didn't have the ability to correct it and to save face and reputation. It was more convenient to pull out than to be associated with a failing project that the dev rocked.
Right.
So I could put that one sentence on the record.
Well, that is certainly emphatic.
That's a big
Crypto
sentence,
King
though.
says it's all Eddie's fault. And this is a nice, neat theory for us. Eddie ruined everything because, Eddie is a liar. So it does seem to explain how these developers got screwed. But this theory doesn't fit all the facts because Eddie was kicked off the team months ago. And still, the game is not working, despite Logan claiming they were going to go back and fix all the problems.
Right. Again, retroactively working to make these projects right, and this takes time, bro. It just takes time. Development takes time.
Working backwards to fix things, which isn't ideal, but also this project will speak for itself.
And now, we're working backwards to try.
What does that mean, working backwards? Like, The developer runs away with the code, and now they're trying to like reverse engineer what they thought he was doing with his entire team of software engineers. Like, are they have any? This is child's play.
To try to fix it.
This just hasn't happened. Even a year from launch, the game just doesn't exist. What's worse is the newest dev team who came on after Eddie just quit. And one of their reasons was they hadn't been paid for over a month. I know this because Logan's team is leakier than the Titanic and someone told me that, but we also have blockchain evidence. This is Jeff paying Block Ops, the company they hired out on July 19th. They were supposed to redo all this work. It's confirmed by their leader, Skip, talking about a first monthly payment on that day. But after that, there's nothing until they quit on September 26th in a post called Our Departure from CryptoZoo. Now, I do have to say, it does look like they were eventually paid, but only a day after they quit. And this is just the same problem as before, slightly different. Nobody can pay these devs on time, and investors end up getting nothing. And so I can't buy into the idea that Eddie's at fault for everything, because when Eddie was gone, they had a lot of the same problems. Now, it was only at the point
cash flow problems
that this dev team quit, Block Ops, that things really took a turn. Because if the Titanic was leaking before, now it was sinking, and everyone basically gave up hope. You know, from every direction, I started getting messages from all the investors who felt betrayed, who up to this point were holding on to hope. Now they felt defeated. They felt tricked by the CryptoZoo team who had fed them promise after promise, and they were sick of it.
He was never in the chat or anything, never apologized or told us anything.
Things didn't work out.
Man, you piss some people off, man. And somebody comes to call in, hey, you want to talk about this person that pissed you off a little while ago? Yeah, I do actually. I've been having all my showers dominated by my by obsessive compulsive thoughts.
Things didn't work out. We all get that. But to continuously lie, lead people on, hype people up, to put more money in, all the while in the background.
I mean, he's got the charm factor.
Going down, things are hitting the fan, and you've left us holding the bag.
I know it was my decision, and I did my research, but I believe nobody has to lose money in this way.
And that's when a whistleblower stepped forward and decided enough was enough. They decided to leak me messages, team messages, from the CryptoZoo team from all the way back in the beginning when they thought of this idea, all the way up to launch.
Let's go.
And seeing that, it changed everything. Because all of a sudden, I got a lot of new information. Remember how Jake, the Crypto King, said Eddie was the only problem? Well, a year ago, he was saying something very different. On the day of launch, he said this to the group. Logan, you stole 40 million in tokens from me. You are a scam artist. You are a liar, and you betrayed your own community. You aren't that guy. Logan replies, oh, Jake, trust me, bro. I am that guy.
You're gonna change this whole story. Yeah, I'll go on the record for you, and yes, I'm gonna show you the text message that say we can sell at these ascending market caps, and that it's not like I was trying to rug a project. It's like I put $250,000 into a project, plus 6 months of time, and the founder never did anything he said he was going to do, and then hired a bunch of devs that didn't do what they were going to do. And every time I gave advice, the advice was I was told. So there was nothing illegal about that. Ethically, arguable. The rest that Logan did to me was ethically wrong and illegal.
Holy, oh my God, shots fired. So that was part 2. Things are heating up. We're gonna watch the last piece of it. This is the blockbuster. If you're just catching up now, we're watching the alleged fraud in Logan Paul's CryptoZoo scam, and yeah, this is good.
The last 6 months, I've been working on my own NFT project.
It's always the DMs that get you.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars
I forgot.
in it.
Oh, Max.
Personally,
So
the whole team, $1 million plus.
We had an issue with CryptoZoo, where our lead developer took the code that he made, fled to Switzerland, and like held it hostage for $1 million.
He never
Ooh, quesadillas.
anything.
With blueberries?
Eddie promised me, 5% tokens and $1 million. He never paid me.
Yeah, I think the part that sucks The part that sucks about this is that the game sounded kind of fun, where like, except the part where there's a lot of money involved. But the game part of it sounded fun, where you buy different eggs, and then they hatch into creatures, and then you can mix those creatures to make new creatures, and then like sell those creatures for money to buy the eggs. It was an interesting game loop, and I don't think I've really seen it made anywhere, really. I think there was like one developer who was trying to make a game where you evolve creatures together, like cross gene pools or whatever. But it's really complicated on the programming side. And when you're trying to like scam people with crypto dollars too, like no surprise this fell over and that they tried to bury it.
Says Eddie's entire story is fake.
The biggest reason it failed, in my opinion.
Doug, I'm not the bad guy here.
Yeah.
There's some actual out there.
Yeah.
And it's not me. Like, I'm here to build.
It ain't me. I'm one of the good ones.
Welcome to part 3. So far, we've discovered fake orphans.
If you come at the king, you best not miss, Coffeezilla.
Millions of dollars stolen, and a cast of sleazy characters, but now it's time to put it all together. What is the truth? And who's to blame? We're gonna start by going through leaked text messages of the CryptoZoo team to understand all of their motivation.
I'm like, as somebody who has tinkered with crypto, I just feel like there's just so much financial desperation. People are just desperate for anything to get them out of, leaking boats, so many people who are hard up just chasing fantasies. So yeah, I've got a pretty dim view of crypto, but there's definitely a time when I was really
Then we'll go to blockchain evidence and show who sold what. And finally, we'll confront some of the people responsible. But before we can do any of that, we have to start in March of 2021, 6 months before the token even launched. Our 4 suspects, Logan, Crypto King, Eddie, and
a fool and his money are soon parted.
Jeff are in a group chat discussing
Capitalism,
CryptoZoo,
baby. Yeah, exactly.
which starts
exploit fear, exploit doubt, sow discord.
As a copy of something.
Sow discord, reap fear.
Else. Quote, I like imitating crypto kitties.
Sorry, what?
Jake the Crypto King says. Logan replies, I agree. And initially, it wasn't called CryptoZoo at all. It was called Crypto Pets. And they were going to sell a Pets token.
Okay.
And pretty early on, it became clear this was all about money, how they were going to sell this thing to investors. In fact, Crypto King said he thought it was worth at least $20 million in only 6 months, saying the range is insane. $20 to $210 million. It's beautiful wherever we land. Eddie jumped in at this point and talked about how he could sell the project as an investment to a friend, Matt Higgins, saying, quote,
I know some rich people.
He has to spend that $350 million somewhere. Why not us? And Logan says, I love that idea. Crypto King, I'm in. And of course, you have Jeff saying, let's go. So you can see right there, they wanted to sell this game before it had even launched. Now later, Eddie amends the list of investors and says, quote, investors will be Gary Vee, Todd Morley, James Altucher, Ryan Kavanaugh, and others confirmed on my end. Supposedly, they had $100 million of investment interest. Now, I actually went to some of these investors and asked if this was true, and the one person who responded denied it, Ryan Kavanaugh. Quote, nope, not even a little bit. So this looks like it could be yet another lie from Eddie.
Quesadillas. Quesadillas are so good.
But either way, it looks like there was more issues than just finding investors, because the team wanted to pre-sell tokens, and not everyone was sure it would be legal. Jake the Crypto King mentions that, quote, if we have a pre-sale, it opens us up to SEC issues. And Jeff agrees and says, don't want to do anything that brings the SEC eyeballs. Now, not everyone wanted to be so cautious, though. Logan argues everyone does pre-sale with coins. Eddie agrees. He says, you absolutely can do it. I have the SEC down, private and pre-sale. And honestly, it was quite the dilemma for this team who wanted money. Do a pre-sale, make millions, but, you have these potential legal issues. Don't do it, you make less money. So Crypto King comes up with a middle solution. He says, if we can't sell, no pre-sale. We can still trade them in the liquidity pool. And this is the start of a new disaster, which takes a bit of explaining. Now, just so we're clear, a pre-sale is where you sell investors coins, usually at a discount, before you've launched. And then when you launch, you give them those coins. Now, like I said, the team didn't want to do that. So what they did instead was they bought the tokens on the open market right after launch. But they tried to get clever with it because they they didn't actually announce that they were launching this coin at all. They stealth launched it on June 11th and didn't announce this token through Logan until August 18th. Meaning they had all that time to silently buy up as much of the supply at a steep discount as they wanted.
Smart, actually.
And the idea here was that doing this, the team could get these tokens extremely cheaply, which is kind of like a pre-sale, but without all the SEC troubles.
Right.
Crypto King makes this clear on June 7th when he says, quote, launch of the liquidity pool is where huge money will be made because you get in cheaper. And then says, we, the team, begin buying out the liquidity pool. Once the team has exhausted funds for the liquidity pool buying, we send the contract address to friends, family, investors who want to be able to get in. So obviously the plan is we buy first, then we give it to our close friends and family, and then maybe the public eventually, right? And even the day before, Crypto King reminds everyone, quote, Zoo Day is tomorrow. I highly recommend everyone get a few hundred to a few $1,000s in Zoo when it goes live. It will likely 10 to 1,000x. So that was their plan. Rather than doing a pre-sale, they were going to do this stealth launch and hopefully get tokens cheaply the same way, but without all the legal troubles. Or at least that was the plan. Because on stealth launch day, this is where things first started to go wrong for the team. At first, everything seemed to go normal. The team sat in a circle and literally bought it out as planned. But the next day, Crypto King says something odd. Quote, a bot is playing with our token. Kind of cool to watch them work. But he doesn't mention who this bot is. And he also says the asshole finished selling, but doesn't mention who that is. Now, Jeff, Logan's manager, replies upset. He says, how do we prevent someone doing what they just did again? We went from a $130 million to $26 million market cap in 2 hours. It's not cool to watch. Logan jumps in. Yeah, wait, how did that happen? And he also says, what asshole? How did anyone get this token except for us and none of us sold? And I think actually this is incredibly suspicious because the implication of what Logan's saying is, hey, we tried to scheme this really well. We tried to all buy this without letting anyone know. How did anyone else figure out we were buying it, right? And this is where a fight ensues that's going to become really interesting. Crypto King deflects the question by saying, my buyer pushed it back up to $40 million. And Logan says, no, bro, F your buyer. Explain to me what just happened and how there were 30 token holders. And Jake tries to explain that this was just traders and bots happening to find the token. But Logan says only 5 of us knew about it. Jake says, well, many people chase volume and new tokens. And to some extent, he's kind of right. But Logan replies, cap. He doesn't believe it. Quote, I can't be the only one who thinks that's too incredibly convenient. Like someone was tipped off. and look, no one's more critical of Logan than me. But as I'm reading these texts, I was kind of like agreeing. Like, yeah, it does seem too nonchalant when somebody's ruining your secret plot. You know what I mean? Because Crypto King was acting very strange. Yeah. He says, we created $40 million out of thin air. This is a success. Logan replies, this nonchalance worries me. F 40 million. It was at 120 million, which again, it's all about the money with these guys. Yeah, but truth be told, I did agree that Crypto King's attitude seemed strange in these texts. I mean, he's not wrong that bots are a thing. Traders are a thing. But it sounded like he didn't want anyone to look into it. So, naturally, I looked into it. Nice. And what I found surprised me, because there were bots, but there's also unusual human activity during this time. So I tracked the 5 biggest buyers of this Zoo coin. And lo and behold, this is what I found. Logan was one of the biggest buyers, which is what you'd expect, but he wasn't the biggest. In fact, 2 of the biggest wallets seem to be associated with Crypto King himself. There it is. And here's where I paused. I said, wait a second. Why did this guy buy more Zoo tokens than Logan when this is mostly Logan's project? I thought Crypto King was a small part of this team. And so to get more info on this, I actually got access to an internal meeting note from the day of June 11th, which they called Zoo Day. And in it, we find actually some interesting information. We see that 5 founders bought in. They apparently were, quote, trading in circles until each person maxed out. But on the list of buyers and how much they spent are only 4 people, when we know 5 people bought. We have Danny, Logan's assistant, for 20K, Logan Paul for 100K, Jeff at 100K, and Eddie at 100K, but Crypto King is nowhere to be found. And yet, on the blockchain, I have him putting in $200,000 worth. And this number, by the way, seemingly is confirmed in a conversation I had with Crypto King. where he said, my 200K investment. And the reason this is important is because it does imply that something shady was going on the day of the stealth launch. Because Crypto King had a relatively small role in this whole project. He was the advisor, but it wasn't that big of a deal. Like you can see from the internal meeting notes, they have a breakdown of who's getting what in terms of founder tokens. And like Logan Paul's getting 51%, Eddie's getting 30%, Jeff's getting 10%. Jake's only getting 5% of tokens, but he has the most of these like stealth launch tokens, which makes no sense. And it got me thinking that maybe what explains this suspicious behavior around like, oh, don't worry about who is buying at the time of the launch. Maybe that's explained because perhaps no one knew that he was buying up large parts of the token supply. Maybe he was buying it to sell later. Now, of course, that's speculation. So that's why I confronted Crypto King on all of this. But before we get to that call, let's address the elephant in the room. Logan didn't accuse Crypto King of being a scam. It was the other way around. Crypto King told Logan Paul he was a scammer. And the question is, why? Well, to answer that, we have to go from June, the stealth launch date, to September 1st, the official launch date of CryptoZoo.
September 1st, CryptoZoo.co.
Now, the day of the launch was a bit strange because you might think, well, they already have a token, right? But the first thing they did was actually create a new Zoo token with a different code, but the same name. And they actually airdropped all the holders of the first Zoo token with an identical amount of those coins on the second Zoo token. So you might be wondering, why did they do that? Well, maybe it's to change the smart contract, but maybe it's because of what they did do. They blacklisted some of the holders. In other words, they didn't airdrop to everyone, including Jake the Crypto King. They excluded his wallets so it couldn't get these Zoo coins. Interesting. Jake texts the group about this the next day, saying, quote, the Zoo team made a major error this weekend. They chose not to communicate, mint a new token, and airdrop it to whatever wallets they determined fit. This decision came from Eddie and Logan, and I had no part in it. 11,250 wallets before the airdrop, under 11,000 after. They chose to blacklist and ban over 200 wallets. Now, who those wallets are, I have no idea. Yikes. But he continues, quote, as a founder like Logan, Jeff, Eddie, and Danny, I had purchased a large quantity of tokens. 5+ of my wallets had been blacklisted from the original team's buys. Now, I don't know why he had 5+ wallets there, but okay. He says 80+ billion Zoo tokens were confiscated from me today without any communication. So, wow. That's why Crypto King accused Logan of stealing from him or scamming. It's because he was frozen out of a lot of his wallets. And then we get to the text you guys all know. He says, Logan, you stole $40 million. You're a scammer. You're a con artist, all that stuff. You betrayed your community. The reality is you aren't that guy. And Logan responds, oh, Jake, trust me, bro. I am that guy. Q, in the arms of an angel. And look, I mean, what do we make of this? Well, I don't know. I can't root for either of these guys because it sounds like Logan stabbed him in the back. Spinach. But it sounds like Crypto King may have stabbed him in the back in the first place, right? Because it does appear like he bought tokens that maybe everyone didn't know about. So I'm really not a fan of anyone in this situation. And by the way, this whole thing was structured so misleadingly from the beginning. I have to talk to you a bit about it because you might think that these tokens were the only tokens they had, but it's not even true. In the distribution section of Zoo's white paper, they say there's 2 trillion tokens, and a quarter of that are allocated to development, marketing, and founders. Those aren't even the tokens we're talking about right now, because they claim that those tokens were locked up for 6 months, and then afterwards, 10% was unlocked every month. And if that's true, there would be no reason for these funds to be blacklisted, right? Why would you blacklist something that would be locked up? And the answer is because, well, the founders had more than one set of tokens. Not only did they supposedly have these founder tokens that were locked up and couldn't be sold, these stealth launch tokens were different from that. It's like a whole different thing. And the tokens that they bought, that all of these guys bought, they could sell at basically any time because they weren't locked up, which is a massive problem. And this fact was explicitly laid out in their meeting notes with only one rule. They say, quote, no selling until $200 million market cap. And don't impact the market more than 3%. And not impact the market more than 10% in a day. And by the way, this is basically conspiracy to manipulate a market. Sounds like they literally have an insider rules for how to sell. But we're gonna look
Wow.
past that, right?
Wow.
Because these rules eventually kind of changed. A text from Logan's manager, Jeff Levin, came to the group chat, Zoo founders, saying, guys, new and absolute rules. No one is to sell or transfer any zoo. Logan's gonna make the call when we can make moves. And Logan replies, your tokens do not leave your wallet. This is a game. Now, that all sounds well and good. Don't sell your tokens, but the reality was, I mean, they're just kind of trusting each other because these tokens that they're talking about, they're unlocked. They're not locked up. And they could sell it at any time. And I guess the question on my mind is that why Crypto King's tokens were blacklisted? Because they thought he would sell? Or maybe it's just the fact they found out he bought and they didn't know about all those tokens. It's honestly hard to say without knowing more evidence. And this is where we're going to jump into the blockchain. Now, I've tracked the wallets of the entire team and identified the largest seller of Zoo in the team. And it wasn't Jeff. It wasn't Danny. It wasn't even Logan. It was Crypto King. Crypto King sold, by my calculations, millions of dollars. And I know what you're thinking, how's that possible, right? I thought his tokens were blacklisted the day of the official launch. How could he sell that?
Selling his crypto?
Well, the answer is that not all of his tokens were blacklisted. He had even more tokens behind the scenes. And what's worse, the CryptoZoo team actually gave him back a lot of his blacklisted tokens, which I guess you can see as a good thing or a bad thing because he then turned around and sold those tokens, right? And from my blockchain analysis across his blacklisted tokens he got back and the tokens that he had squirreled away the whole time, he ended up making $6 million. He did this by sending out tokens from these larger wallets to dozens of smaller wallets, selling it, and then sending the money to final cash out wallets. So I used those final wallets to calculate the amount he made.
Whoa.
Now, I know, look, it's a lot to accuse someone of selling $6 million in a project that doesn't even work. It's a giant scam. So I wanted to give him a chance to defend himself. So I got on a call with Crypto King.
And he went on the record.
Here's what he said when I finally revealed that I knew he had sold.
I'm gonna change this whole story. Yeah, I'll go on the record for you, and yes, I'm gonna show you the text message that say we can sell at these ascending market caps, and literally, I'm gonna.
He's spiraling.
100%. It sounds like your biggest issue with me is that I sold, and if that's your biggest issue with me, that's the truth.
Oof! Wow, that is a big admission. Selling tokens for a project that you're an advisor on when the project has never been delivered.
Yikes.
Although Crypto King insists that it wasn't $6 million and he wasn't trying to rug a project. In fact, you know, really, he might be the one who got screwed over in all of this.
Like, I didn't sell $6 million worth. That's going to be other wallets, but that's probably not going to be able to be me being able to be proven, except for them saying, can you send BNB to all these different wallets for me? Which that I'll be able to show you that I was giving BNB to the whole team. I will also be able to show you that I was a 5% holder of the Zoo tokens that I was promised to be given over the 3-month period, was never given. I can also show you that I was frozen out and was never given the 15 billion tokens back that I paid for in cash.
Dang.
I can show you all of those things on the record, and then you can also say that I did sell, which is also true.
Yep.
Well, as long as it's accompanied with he was a founder that was supposed to be given 5% of the project and was never given a token or paid, worked for almost a year on the project. As long as that goes in with it, then at least that tells my side of the story so people understand that it's not like I was trying to rug a project. It's like I put $250,000 into a project plus 6 months of time, and the founder never did anything he said he was going to do, and then hired a bunch of devs that didn't do what they were going to do. And every time I gave advice, the advice was I was told to fuck off. So it can be that story, or it can be he sold all this amount and he got in early. Well, yeah, that's like 1% of it though.
Incredible.
1%.
He sounds like he views himself as the victim.
As a martyr.
Or at least like he got screwed too.
Yeah.
Which just has to win the gold medal for me for mental gymnastics because, I mean, he literally had put $200,000 into this and he says he made millions of dollars. Even if you take him at his word that he didn't make the full $6 million, he admits to me later that it might be a pretty close guess. He tells me via text, quote, I don't care if you tell people I sold a few million and leave it at that. Well, okay. $6 million, a few million dollars. It's millions of dollars, right?
Yeah.
Millions of dollars when you only put in $200,000 into a project that's never been delivered, doesn't work, scammed people out of their money. How is he saying he's the one who's in the wrong? Well, in his view, what he did was not wrong. It might have been arguably unethical, but it wasn't illegal.
And what Logan did, well, that was illegal.
You can say the timing was bad and it was inappropriate to sell, but the reality is I bought tokens open market and sold them open market.
Right.
So there was nothing illegal
Even
about
though you knew
that.
about it.
Ethically, arguable. The rest
Insider
that
trading?
Logan did to me was ethically wrong and illegal.
Now, what do I think of all this finger pointing? Well, I think it's pretty wild to try to make yourself look like the lesser of two evils when you made millions of dollars and investors lost millions. I just do. Now, at the same time, I want to be fair to Crypto King. He's not the only one who sold here. But I also have to say, not everyone from the founders did sell. For example, Jeff, Logan's manager, to my knowledge, never sold. Neither did Logan Paul, which was a huge surprise. All their wallets that I tracked, held on to their tokens, which is good. And to their credit for a game that doesn't work. But you know who did sell? Eddie Ibanez. The guy who didn't pay the initial devs, the supposed MIT orphan? Yeah, from what I could see, his initial wallet got a ton of Zoo, sent it to a bunch of smaller wallets, and then sold off, kind of like Crypto King. And for my calculations, he made about $1.7 million. Now, I have to tell you that like Jake, I tried to confront him and give him the opportunity to defend himself, but he never replied to my emails or my phone calls, and we're just gonna have to leave it there. But we're not done with the money just yet, because we still need to talk about the eggs. Remember, we talked about how they profited from ZooCoin, but they also made millions from eggs. According to their own internal meeting notes, they plan to make about $3 million selling these eggs for 0.1 ETH a piece. And that's not far from what I calculated they actually did make, which was about $2.5 million. In the meeting notes, they say they're gonna clear expenses and then do payouts. But pay out who? They don't say. And these expenses are referencing an earlier note suggesting Eddie and Logan had both spent $300,000 each, which I'll say is not $1 million, but okay, we'll give it to them, right? Okay. So they got paid back their $600,000, but where does the rest of the money go? Well, on the Ethereum side, there's one payout for $364,000 to one wallet and another $1 million to another. They both are Coinbase addresses, so we don't know who exactly that is, but clearly someone on the team made a lot of money from these NFT egg sales that do not work. And on the Binance Smart Chain side, where they also made money selling eggs, the zoo that was spent was supposed to be set aside for 50% to be burned, which they did, but the other 50% was supposed to be allocated for wildlife charities and CryptoZoo development. Now, neither seems to have happened because all the money is in a wallet that the team still controls, so there are open questions about, where that money is going to go and where the Ethereum money went. Did it go to Jake? Did it go to Logan? Did it go to Jeff? Did it go to Eddie? We don't know. But what I know for sure is that no one was innocent, although there are certainly shades of guilt you can argue about because, of course, not everyone did sell. You could look at that as the most important thing. Logan Paul didn't sell. Jeff, Logan's manager, didn't sell. But does that make them innocent? Well, I don't think so because they never built a game they promised people. Logan Paul specifically got millions of dollars spent on this game on the promise of the technology that he never built, that his team never built. He never addressed the failure except to blame his developers who weren't paid. And you could say he promised to work backwards to fix it, but then never did. But at the same time, it's clearly not just Logan's fault either because there are major team issues, right? You've got Eddie selling millions of dollars of Zoo and then allegedly not paying developers. You've got Jeff, who was warned about Eddie, who kept him on the team anyways, and then after they fired Eddie, seems to also have failed to pay developers on time. And then you've got Crypto King himself, who sold the most, but claims he was the guy who was scammed, which is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. It's just like Avengers Assemble for the worst possible team you can imagine to build a crypto gang. And so, unsurprisingly, it turns out a lot of these guys backstabbed each other. And so, finding a way to wrap this up was difficult because it's hard to assign exact proportions of blame. Because if you focus on any one person, you kind of miss why this project failed. CryptoZoo, at the end of the day, did not fail because the price went too low. CryptoZoo failed because they never built a functioning game that they promised. Really, the number one problem, even bigger than people selling millions of dollars of tokens, was that they never paid the developers on time, as boring as that is. And as a result, the investors not only got rugged for millions of dollars, which is a problem, but they just didn't get the core thing they had bought from the beginning, which was not a crypto project, but something different.
I'm excited to launch My game.
You keep using and you just did it again. You keep using a word there.
Game.
Game. You're not using like a project. It's a game.
It's a game. It's a really fun game that makes you money.
That he's never
That's
played.
it. That to me is the biggest scam in all of this. Yes, it's a huge problem. People stole millions of dollars, but it's a symptom of the larger issue, which is people didn't actually care about the game or this, whatever you want to call it. They just cared about the money. And this is ultimately what happens when you have an influencer LARPing as a businessman. It's what happens when you have a liar LARPing as a developer. And it's what happens when you have a shady crypto guru LARPing as a crypto king. You end up with a mess. And in my personal opinion, a fraud as well. And now that this thing blew up in their faces, these four seem to be dodging accountability faster than SBF dodges calls with me. Because I have reached out to everyone involved. I've tried to get all of their statements on things. So far, no one has taken accountability or offered to refund the victims at all. They're all hiding.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? Like, we haven't heard anything. I think I have one tweet from Logan Paul.
Pretending these victims don't even exist. But they do exist. And throughout my investigations, they've been the heartbeat of this whole thing. So I decided to close this investigations in a bit of a unique way. Rather than me deciding who's to blame or me deciding what you should think, I want to give them the last word.
Everyone's to blame. Logan, in the sense of his poor management, is his project. He still made these promises to people.
I think everyone it is to blame, including Logan Paul, of course, because he was the one in charge of this, and he was responsible for all of this mess.
Everybody has a big part and a massive cross to bear.
Each one of them scammed the project in their own way, and then off to the sunset they went.
It was his job to check the team, to make sure that everyone is working together, to make sure that he is giving the funds of the people that put it into his project under his name to people that he actually trusts. So in my opinion, if the team failed to perform, that's Logan Paul to blame.
The community is destroyed. People is angry. They just want their money back. They just want their normal lives back.
Reimburse those loyal fans that they have, or how to rebuild the project, actually deliver on the project. For those who are still holding their eggs, like I am, or for those holding the zoo coins. So maybe they could just deliver what they promised, and that would give some redemption to this fiasco.
He's not said a word. That's as bad, or almost as bad, as taking the money. It's the not coming out and just being a man about it.
At least we deserve to know what was happening behind the scenes while we were waiting for almost a year and a half. The fact that we're hearing this information not from Logan Paul, but from pretty much an investigator, it really says a lot.
What did this loss mean to me? It meant a lot. Not just personally, because I lost quite a lot of money. My kid and also my wife were invested. It was like telling a kid that Santa doesn't exist or something like that, because she really believed in all that game. She really believed in Logan Paul. Kids look up to that kind of people. So it was some kind of broken dream.
My mum was invested. My sister was also invested. So, I mean, my daughter even had a couple of the eggs and animals, which the loss for them hurts the most, because obviously it's just not nice to see.
For somebody to win, somebody has to lose. That's a gamble you take, whether you get into crypto or not. I got in knowing that I could lose, which is fine. That's on me. But I thought if I lost something, it would be because I sold at the wrong time, or the game didn't earn as much as I thought it would, and therefore my things weren't as valuable. But you never go into it thinking it's not something that they're going to just sell out from underneath you, because they could make so much more if they actually delivered on what they said. Even if they delivered on close to it.
But they have no history of doing
it. And that's the thing, is you don't think they're going to rug you because there was so much money in a game wallet.
Ultimately, at the end, the way I see it is it was fraud. Logan could have put out the red flags, told people to stop investing more into it, because people were investing into this project until the very last minute, where the ship was still just sinking down the ocean, and people were still putting their cash into it.
If I was on a call with Logan Paul, I would ask him where did his redemption arc go. I think he was on such a good streak going about his YouTube career and boxing as well, and it's sad to see that
Redemption
because of money once again we have degraded down to stealing from his viewers.
What would I say to Logan Paul and his team if I could? Well, actually, I could because I have an NFT from other project that gives me the right to see Logan Paul, to meet and greet with him, and I will actually use that right to tell him this story again, show him this video in front of me, and see how he reacts when he sees that my family, my whole family and my kid are affected with this situation, because I think that's not human.
You would think that Logan would have told his fellow followers, his loyal fans that, hey guys, back off, red flag, things are there's turbulence in the water. No, not a single word, nothing whatsoever.
To market products at children and knowing full well that his team is made up of people that he believes are shady characters. Yeah, he still goes on Forbes interviews and says the game is great for kids. It's gonna be amazing.
Who loves it most? The kids. Their kids love it.
Our developers' kids, all of them, cannot stop playing the game.
I think that is
yikes,
inhumane the way that side of it's been marketed.
Knowing what's happened since, knowing that all of the people that were there from the beginning, like all of the guys that I'd speak to on a daily basis, that we've all just got nothing now. Ideally, I just want to say I'll see you in court.
Okay, good luck. When Logan and Jeff were asked for comment on the story, Jeff replied, Dear Steven, Coffeezilla, there are certain legal issues around the company and its product that preclude us at present from answering any questions. Ooh, spicy. It is our hope that these will be resolved shortly for everyone's satisfaction, and at that point, we will reach out to you. Not a good sign. That is not a good sign. It sounds like the SEC's involved already. Alright, that was awesome. That was definitely one of his best. I just heard about this guy, and he's popping off, and he's coming at the best, and he's coming with a lot of really good evidence. Like, holy cow, those boards where he's showing all the different like crypto wallets exchanging, or like being able to confirm or deny that someone did XYZ. Like, geez, the space is usually like so much scamming is happening because you just obfuscate, you just kind of hide everything behind a confusing wall of secrecy, even if it's nothing really special is happening. Anyways, here's Logan Paul. Quote, while I generally appreciate Steven's creative genius and exceptional work ethic, I mean that, this one is simply not true. When appropriate, all bad actors will be exposed, explained, and held fully accountable. I'll speak further on Impulsive January 3rd. And of course, people are like, but then why'd you block Coffeezilla and refuse to answer his questions? Like, the problem he has, oh, here's Crypto King. Invite everyone, Coffee called out, including Coffee, including myself, including a lot of other individuals that went unmentioned. So, yeah. This is not looking good. The problem is that it's timing. Like, if you're going to be like, I'm going to set the record straight, but only after someone has spent a year investigating? Come on. Like, it's over. GG. All right, chat. I don't know if you're ready for this. I don't know if I'm ready for this. It's a new JCS. Content warning, everybody. This guy exclusively does videos on criminal psychology. There's a lot of like mixed opinions and controversial takes. Take this all with a grain of salt, but it's crazy entertaining. And it's usually like this guy unpacks some criminal who's trying to essentially escape punishment, and the like tactics that investigators use in order to like pin them down in those rooms to admit to a crime or to like otherwise mess up. It's intense. It's gonna be something different. And yeah, let's go.
did want water, didn't you?
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah, grab me some water real quick. I need to get some stuff over here. That's my card. I know I introduced myself to you at your house, but my name is Lisa Reeves, okay? And I am a detective here at the Charlottesville Police Department.
Okay.
So before I want to talk to you, I want to make sure you do understand your rights, okay? And that way I can explain to you what's going on and all that good stuff. Do you understand? You understand that? Okay. Today's date is May the 3rd, 2010. The current time is, all right, your first name is George?
Yes.
Georg.
20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes.
I didn't. There's no way I didn't do it. No way. Why did you guys come in and say you were searching for an assault?
I never said anything about an assault.
Someone came in this
I
morning.
never mentioned to you anything. Just told you we're investigating something. Wanted to know.
Investigating an assault.
Do you want me to call anybody for you, George?
It's an interesting concept to think of how you might respond to what would normally be an easy question, especially during a circumstance where it becomes a terrifying dilemma. We ask that you contemplate this question while you put yourself in George's position, but not before you grasp the context of what brought him to this moment. It begins with 22-year-old sports scholar Yardley Love, a star lacrosse player at the University of Virginia. She is captured in this photograph playing in the second-to-last game of the season, clearly aware of the obstacles that lie in front of her, yet continuing to move forward, which is the circumstantial detail that turned this picture into a symbol for the globally recognized organization that would be founded in her memory. This would be the last photograph taken that day, capturing Yardley's last embrace with her head coach Julie Myers. Both were unaware this exact moment would soon be on the national front pages. On May 3rd, 2010, at roughly 2:15 a.m., Yardley's roommate returned from a night out to their off-campus apartment. Upon entering, she saw that Yardley's bedroom had been broken into, at which point she rushed inside to find her unresponsive on the mattress. She had blood coming out of her nose and severe bruising across the right side of her face. But the most alarming thing was that she wasn't waking up. Her friend called 911, who instantly guided her through the steps of CPR, which was then taken over by paramedics who arrived on the scene 4 minutes later. But their attempts at revival were unsuccessful, and Yardley was pronounced dead at exactly 2:47 a.m. At 2:53 that same morning, criminal investigator Lisa Reeves woke up to a phone call from the sheriff's office. By 2:59, she had arrived at Yardley's apartment leading the investigation, and by 3:50, confirmed that she had her first person of interest, which was 22-year-old George Hughley V, Yardley's ex-boyfriend, and the next several hours were spent gathering information before she knocked at his front door. She found out that George was a fifth-generation heir to a very wealthy American family, whose roots lay in lumber dating back to the 1900s. He was educated at Landon Prep, a prestigious all-boys private school in Bethesda, Maryland, with annual tuition fees of up to $50,000. George was the star player of the lacrosse team and became an All-American athlete. This led to a full scholarship at the University of Virginia, where he remained a key player in the starting lineup, and where he would also meet, then spark a romance with fellow lacrosse player Yardley Love. They dated for almost 2 years.
Hughley and Love's relationship was an on-again, off-again.
Wait, is this a story about Canada's national sport?
One where they cheated on each other throughout and that tempers flared both ways.
What was going on with these two young people? What may have led someone to do what happened? These are just a completely unbelievable set of facts.
Everybody watched the relationship. People were really troubled by it. They were scared for her. Nobody knew what to do.
Yardley ended the relationship in 2010, just 2 weeks before graduation. 9 days later, she was found dead in her bedroom. And that same morning, George Hughley would hear a knock at his front door.
That same morning.
He opened to Detective Lisa Reeves, who was dressed in civilian clothing. She introduced herself as a police officer, but mentioned nothing of the crime. She simply stated that she was conducting an investigation that could benefit from his presence at the sheriff's office. George's response was to lethargically put on his flip-flops, then walk over to the passenger side door of her unmarked police car and let himself in. Somewhat bewildered, Lisa got in and drove them to the police station a few minutes away without talking. It was around then when she noticed bruising on his knuckles and cuts on his forearm, at which point George was no longer a person of interest. He was the prime suspect.
Yikes. Yikes. Holy cow, he gets into the passenger side of the cruiser.
Sorry. Did you say you did want water, didn't you? I know I introduced myself to you at your house, but my name is Lisa Reeves. Today's
So calm
date
and
is
collected.
May the 3rd,
So cordial.
2010. The current time is...
This is just a simple procedure. Don't worry yourself, nothing.
7:52,
I
okay?
draw with papers too.
What's that?
Papers do.
I draw with papers too right now.
All right, your first name is George?
Yes.
Right away, you'll come to notice that George is oblivious to the gravity of his situation,
Clearly.
and it would be very safe to assume that he at this moment is unaware that Yardley has died. He seems to believe that he's in as much trouble as he would be sitting in a principal's office, perhaps for getting in a fight at class or on the lacrosse field, and the sooner he provides a sanitized version of the truth, the sooner he'll get to go home. This, of course, ties in perfectly with the interrogator's opening strategy, which we've labeled warmth for the sake of this video. She will downplay the severity of his situation to a considerable degree, while maintaining a friendly temperament with a sympathetic undertone. She needs the suspect to feel safe and secure for the time being, as the less cautious he is, the more information he's likely to give away. Then as soon as he locks himself into one particular storyline, the pressure can commence, which often leads to a suspect being laden with panic and contradictions.
Before we ask you any questions, you must understand your rights. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you in court. You have the right to talk to a lawyer before questioning and have one present during questioning. If you cannot afford a lawyer, one will be provided for you. And if you're willing to talk to us now, you have the right to stop talking anytime.
Oh my God.
George has two options here. Option one is to remain silent, then allow his father to get him the most expensive attorneys in the country. He would then have years to examine the evidence, evaluate the many options available, and then construct the most self-preserving storyline with world-renowned experts in criminal defense before they present it to a jury. Unfortunately for George, he takes option two, but before he does...
Man, imagine being that parent, being like, I've sunk so much money into this kid. My dear son, who's gonna take over the business factory, the lumber yard, and then from one day to the next.
Rewatch the flawlessly reassuring manner in which he's given the final piece of the Miranda warning.
And if you're willing to talk to us now, you have the right to stop talking anytime.
We have the right to stop talking anytime. Just like, as if this is the most common thing you've ever heard. You've all heard, yeah, this is a normal thing. It's no big deal. Don't mind these words.
Got it?
Yep.
Awesome. Just need your signature there that you understand your rights and are willing to talk to us. And the time now is 7:53.
And are willing to talk to us.
All right. Let's kind of start. I'm going to kind of ask you some questions, and like I said, we'll explain things a little bit later. Tell me about your day yesterday.
Played golf with our parents. It was a father-son. Good event. I went to dinner with my dad and my two buddies, and then went home, went to the bar for like a little while. Then I went over to talk to Yardley, and
Who's Yardley?
Yardley is my former girlfriend.
Okay.
Which this whole thing's about, which I understand, but...
George has now initiated the investigative subject matter himself. It's the perfect opening scenario for the interrogator because she's given nothing away, making it more likely for him to reveal details that will contradict the evidence.
When I went over to talk to Yardley, I was like, Yardley, and she was like, already totally freaked out because of what she did this past, a few days ago, and we haven't talked since, and I was just going to go talk to her.
Yardley slept with another lacrosse player from North Carolina the week before, which is what he just referred to.
And she was already freaking out. You can't come in, you can't come in. And I was like, I'm just trying to talk to you.
The investigation team obviously had no way of knowing this, and George has now confessed to the crime of second-degree trespass. More importantly, however, he's just confessed to initiating the supposed confrontation. He now can't say that he was somehow tricked or misled into that situation. He knowingly stepped into it, and the critical fact he can actually recognize and remember this will be used against him repeatedly in the future.
And, she, started being, getting, all, really defensive. She was already on the defensive edge,
This really makes me think of the line, men are afraid that women will ridicule them and women are afraid that men will unalive them.
And like, I was like, listen, I'm not here to like, I'm just here to talk to you.
Yeah,
and she like got all like sat up, like, her bed's against the wall, like if it was in this corner. She was like up against the wall, and I was like we were sitting there talking, and like she started being like you know, like getting like all like aggressive after this, and so I was like, all right, like chill out, like, and shook her a little bit.
So just to recount what George said over the last 47 seconds, Yardley was defensive. While being in a defensive state, she backed up against the wall. She then became aggressive. George's response to this supposed aggression was to initiate physical contact.
And she started being like freaking out, and I was like, listen, I'm not like here to do anything, I'm here to talk to you about everything that's ensued in the past week. And she was like, and like sort of like being like, no, like hitting her head, like stop, like she was in the corner, I was sitting on the bed, I was like, stop, like, I was like, Yardley, like, what the hell, like, we were just gonna talk.
So let's go back half a minute and dissect what actually just happened there.
And so I was like, all right, like, chill out, like, and shook her a little bit.
He will now say the words, and she started being like, then simultaneously mimic a body colliding with the wall. He will then stop himself mid-thought and subtly modify the detail.
Yeah.
And she started being like freaking out, and I was like, listen. And she started being like freaking out.
He goes from illustrating Yardley hitting the wall to, as he states, freaking out. He seems to realize mid-sentence this isn't the best way to explain her injuries, so he changes the detail to buy himself time.
And she started being like freaking out, and I was like, listen, I'm not like here to do anything, I'm here to talk to you.
He carefully shifts the topic from Yardley to himself, and keeps it there for 8 seconds before attempting to re-explain what occurred in a more self-preserving manner.
And she was like, and like sort of like being like, no, like hitting her head, like.
No jury on the planet will believe that Yardley was voluntarily slamming her head against the wall with enough force to cause fatal brain damage. All George has done here is give away the fact that he knows Yardley has sustained some type of head injury, and now lied on record about how it was inflicted.
I was like, Yardley, like, what the hell, like, we were just gonna talk, and like, it was not at all like a good conversation, because that's like, she was already like freaking out with just even seeing me there.
It's actually kind of scary, like, just how seamlessly someone can displace responsibility if you're not paying crazy amounts of attention. And it can be something as serious as like somebody's life, and they'll just be able to, this person did it to themselves. Jesus.
Okay. What happened next?
What happened next, and she just kept hitting her head against the wall while she was sitting on the bed, and I was like, I grabbed her and I like shook her, I was like, stop, like, we need to, like, and looked at her, I was like, we need to like talk about this, and like, I mean, I was on holding her arms and stuff, but like, I never struck her, I never like hit her like in the face or anything. I was just like, we need to talk, and she was so like, oh, I mean, what's the word? Like, you know, like flopping a fish out of the water, like so, like
maybe try to escape.
This. And I was like, listen, like, I'm not here to like fight with you or like do anything, like, here to talk to you. And like, and she's like, no, like, get away from me. You have to leave, you have to leave, like, all this stuff. And I was like, all right, like, fine, like, but like, I want to talk to you after all this. And like, I was like a little bit persistent because of the situation.
Yeah.
You know, my former girlfriend who, like, something happened last week, you know, and I was like, all right, like, well, so we were like talking over there, and I mean, somehow I was resting her on the floor, and I was just like, stop, and I was holding her.
I was holding her. I was a little bit persistent. I was wrestling her on the floor. All further evidence that designates George as the aggressor. He's completely shut down his ability to argue any sort of self-defense claim.
And then the conversation, I could tell, was just like, it was not going anywhere, and nothing was happening, and she, like, like went back to bed and I left. And I went back home.
Okay.
Phase 1 is now complete. The suspect has unknowingly locked himself into a storyline that will put him away for a very long time.
Yikes.
The risk of him shutting down or requesting a lawyer is no longer a primary concern. So the interrogator will now increase the pressure.
Right,
She
get
will
it
confront
even
him on
more.
certain elements that she pretended to overlook before. And the ideal scenario is to cause just enough panic so that he backpedals on previous statements and contradicts himself.
All right, so you go over there, knock on the door.
Her front door is open. Her room door was closed. I knocked like
front door is
yardly, like she heard me open the door and went in.
All right, went in where?
To her room.
All right, straight to her bedroom.
Straight to her bedroom. Yeah, I mean.
How'd you get through the door?
Her door or the front door?
Her door.
Actually, it might have been locked.
Oh yeah.
It was.
Yeah, that's a big mistake.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Just be honest with me.
Yeah,
How'd
no,
you get
yeah,
through
it was actually locked. Yeah, because I think I put a hole.
You punched a hole through the door.
Pretty sure, actually. Now, yeah, that used to have that. Yeah.
All right.
Pretty sure.
Why'd you do that?
Well, I guess, yeah, once I was in her room.
That's scary.
She was like very like, you know, like, or like, no, not like, I don't want to talk to you, like all this stuff. And she was very like, you know, very on edge, like, I don't want to talk, like, I don't want to talk, like, you know. I was like, listen, like, what you pulled last week was outrageous. Like, I just want to talk to you. Why'd you punch the door then?
A very unusual time to interrupt a suspect in such a contentious manner. He was giving away self-incriminating information that could be used to establish a motive. He was doing exactly what the lead investigator wanted. But Detective Ed has now stopped him in his tracks. It's a reckless maneuver at this point in the interrogation, which Detective Reeves is no doubt conveying at this moment through nonverbal communication. She now has to let the suspect respond as to not undermine their position.
What are you doing, Ed? You're scuttling this.
Because I want to talk to her.
Detective Reeves will now bring his guard back down through a reassuring tone and gently guide his train of thought back to his grievances with the victim. She pulls this off in 3 questions.
All right, well, continue on. That's fine. Continue on. So you're talking to her and she doesn't want to talk to you?
Not really. I mean, we talked though. Like there was parts where we were talking, and then like.
Do you know what you're talking about?
I mean, about so many different things.
Okay. Like what?
Like what she did last week.
Mm-hmm.
Like went to like Carolina. She went to Carolina and hooked up with someone Sunday when we were still trying to figure out things. And I was over there like to talk. Like I was like, this is outrageous.
Yeah. I don't think you can tell this is a rich kid. He does not understand the gravity. He's not afraid of police. He's not afraid of police. Like you probably ought to be.
Trying to make everything better. And then like, you know, she was very defensive because she knew like how upset I was because I've told her like.
That's actually a good question.
How upset.
A rich family that doesn't have its tentacles all up in the police department, and the police department's able to like very quickly investigate his son before he can get lawyers up.
I was like about what she did. Works. And so I was like, and I sat on the edge of it. I was like, listen, like, I want to talk to you. Like what you did was bullshit. Like that's not like okay. And I was just like, and she's like not like you know, she's like you know, sort of pushing everything that she did to the back burner and like talking about like you know like trying to like put everything that she did like wasn't important. It kept going to the point where she like I was like, listen, like you're like we have to figure like out what's going on. And she was like, I'm not talking to you. And then she like pushed me, like, get out of here, like go. And I was like, no. And like I was like,
no.
Be like, we have to talk. Like,
wow.
So like get like.
When you're doing that, what do you?
What's
hold
this? That's what
on
I'm saying.
On her arms, like maybe up here.
Like shoulders.
Yeah.
Shoulders.
Like,
oh no.
Like come on, like you know, and that's when she was like wiggle and like get away and like you know like hide get in the corner like really like aggressive, like
Very
defensively
aggressive?
almost.
Defensively almost? Which one is it?
And then she ended. I think she was back in bed, and I left. I was like, this is not going anywhere.
How'd she get back in bed?
We were like wrestling, and we stood up, and I tossed her. I pushed her onto the bed. I was like, go to bed. Like, I'll talk to you later.
Did you touch her neck area at all? Did you choke her at one point?
I may have grabbed her a little bit by the neck when we were like, but I never like strangled her.
Okay.
But I mean, during the whole like commotion, you know, like I might have grabbed her neck, but I never was like strangling her.
Oh boy.
More detail that was unknown to the investigation. The fact that he grabbed her neck can now be used as evidence. It paints a more frightening picture of the incident with relation to the suspect's aggression toward the victim. This was an extremely damaging revelation for George's defense. The discussion moves to the moment he left, and George admits that he took Yardley's laptop.
Why'd you grab her laptop?
Because I was so pissed that she wouldn't talk to me. I was like, I don't know. I like took it almost as like collateral, I guess. I don't know. It's not reasonable logic, but
Right. Okay.
I don't know.
Did you take anything else besides your
No,
laptop? Nothing?
No.
Okay.
I mean,
Alright. So when you left out of there, I mean, you saw that she was bleeding on her nose.
She's now about to ask a question with the same implication for a second time.
Right.
Notice what occurred the first time.
Did you go back and check on her at any point?
no, I did not.
Oh.
Did you try to call rescue or anything, make sure she was alright?
No, I did not.
No. Why?
The face of bewilderment, if there ever was one. It's very strange that he's
That's
so
insane.
taken aback by such a question, especially when you take into account the possible outcome if he had actually called for help.
One medical expert revealed in the courtroom for the very first time that following Yardley Love's brutal beating, had George Hughley or anyone else called for help, she might have survived.
Wow.
I didn't think it was like
serious.
I didn't think that she was like in need of like going to the emergency room. She just got. I mean, blood.
What do you think that?
I don't know. I mean, I don't.
Did you say when you were, and correct me if I'm wrong, when you were shaking her, her head was hitting the wall?
That was in the beginning. That was initially when I walked in. Like she was like up in the corner, like saying, get out of here, like you know, like this.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
At any time when you were shaking her, did her head bang the wall?
Put yourself in George's position and imagine Yardley had in fact self-inflicted her injuries. You would perhaps say something along the lines of, absolutely not.
I wasn't hitting her against the wall, but like when she's like sitting there in the corner of like if it were like this, and I'm like already like you know, and I was like what the fuck was that about? Like that's such bullshit that you like do that. Like that's such a like bullshit move. Like what like you know like. Everyone like hitting her, like, what are you like doing? Like that, like.
Okay. She has a pretty good knot on her head. That's why I'm asking how you can explain how that would have happened.
I mean, I don't even know when a knot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean.
Like on the side of her head, she's been hit pretty good right there. So I'm just trying to figure out, did you hit her with something?
No.
Was that
no,
her head into the wall?
never touched her or struck her or anything.
You touched her?
Well, you touched her. You had your hands on her.
No, I said never struck her.
Okay.
Okay, but
So I'm gonna go through this one more time, make sure we're on the same page. So you're pretty pissed at her from a week ago.
Yeah.
For sending
Motive.
these text messages. Do you have those text messages where she says she, as you put it, fucked somebody?
I actually might have those. Yeah.
All right, you got your phone with you?
Yeah.
And let's pull it out and scroll through it. Let's see if we can see those.
The next moment is
boy.
fascinating because it symbolizes how drastically George's life is about to change. The interrogator will invade his personal space to make sure he's not deleting anything from his phone. Soon after that, she will take the phone out of his hand and place it on the table. Actions that would be
shit.
completely unacceptable in almost any other circumstance.
oh my god. Look at her, she's angling.
They were like, I guess what you call like
she's gonna see it and snatch it.
Like ongoing conversation, ongoing like instant message, and it's gone.
He grabs hand on it. Oh.
Devastating. All right, let's talk about how you entered. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
because to have put your fist through the door.
No,
she
it's
had
actually
to
my
been
leg.
telling-
I'm pretty
Your
sure.
Your leg.
Because that's why
Are there any
my leg's
wounds
like
there?
this.
That's why my leg's
You're
like
right.
this?
That was your leg.
Yeah.
How'd
Bro.
you get all the bruising on your hand then?
This is all from lacrosse. This is all.
Oh, yeah?
That's pretty fresh right there. Looks.
This is all from my lacrosse game on Saturday.
On
I mean, I wear
Saturday.
my arm. You can see where my arm pads are.
Mm-hmm.
Right here, my gloves right here, and that's.
Even right there, I thought you wore those padded gloves.
This is
lacrosse.
This is all the difference. This is all from lacrosse.
Okay.
And I got whacked here. I remember 100% got whacked during the game when I was trying to kill the clock.
Mm-hmm. When you had her and you're shaking her, did she scratch you anywhere?
No.
No?
No.
She's a little girl. She's tiny.
Yeah, she did not. No, she didn't. She didn't
She didn't
scratch
try
me.
to
Defense
hit you or
wounds.
anything like that.
No.
Just looking for defense wounds.
So you kick in the door.
Yeah,
Go in.
that's how I got. Yeah.
Okay.
And then I stuck
That's
my hand through
terrifying.
and unlocked it, and went in there.
Holy
and
shit.
Okay.
Everything else is will you.
The detectives leave the room for roughly 3 minutes. When
Grab
they
the phone.
return, it appears Ed is given the chance to lead with a few of his own questions.
I know we touched about what happened last night, but set it up for me, lead it up to me a little bit here. Why did you guys break up exactly? Why?
Why?
Yeah.
Well, we are not from the same area.
Right.
And she wants me to New York, and I'm not exactly sure what I'm doing yet, but I'd like to move to San Francisco.
Why'd you take her computer?
I don't know. I have no idea.
There's maybe because there's evidence on the computer, emails that you sent.
No, there's no. I mean, you can read all the
This guy's
emails and
lucky.
everything back and forth.
Detective Ed now asks George if he held Yardley down on the bed. He's trying to subtly set the grounds for an argument of smothering, which isn't a terrible idea, but would be disproven by the autopsy regardless.
No, no.
Did you fall down on top of her? Wrestle on
We
the
were
ground?
wrestling on the ground for like a little
Did
bit.
y'all wrestle on the
like-
bed at all?
No, I never I shook her.
No, I mean just kind of hold her down until she calmed down on the bed.
No, if anything that. If anything that would have been like on the floor when we were on the floor when her nose started bleeding. We were like wrestling around.
This is so damning.
And that's when her nose started bleeding.
Was it pretty noisy when you all were wrestling around?
No, I mean.
Was she screaming?
No. She was not screaming, actually.
I mean, if I'm cracking my head in the wall, I'm gonna be saying ow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, she was not screaming.
Yeah.
She should have been, probably. I mean, maybe.
Yeah.
She should have been.
She wants
probably.
to interrupt and say, you said before that she was...
I mean, maybe.
That's
I
my
don't
guess.
know.
Why do you think she should have?
I don't know. I mean, well, she was screaming when I first came into the room. She
Right.
was like, no, I'm not talking to you. Get the fuck out of here, all that. But
At any point before you said you and this was your words, you said you tossed her on the bed and then you left.
Yeah.
All right. At any point before that, did she lose consciousness?
Right.
No.
No.
Okay. What happened after you tossed her on the bed? Did she move? Talk about, say something?
I mean, I literally tossed her on the bed and turned around and
Tossed her on the ground or tossed her
on the bed and
Tossed her on the
walked
bed.
out the door.
Okay. So when you tossed her back on the bed, in your mind, she was bleeding, but you said she was bleeding out her nose, and you didn't feel like you needed to call rescue?
No.
After that, after banging her
That's
head
insane.
No,
and shaking her and blood coming out her nose on the floor?
No.
No.
There's nothing about
You missed anything that no one asking right now?
There's nothing about going to get anything or going. I don't know why I took the computer.
George rambles about why there was no reason for taking the laptop for another 20 seconds, during which time Detective Reeves decides that enough information has been attained. Phase 2 is
got
now
that deal,
complete,
too.
and the fate of Yardley is about
Anything
to
you
be
wanna ask?
revealed. These moments in interrogations are considered important for the purpose of gauging a suspect's response. It's
Right.
believed that a sharp and sudden revelation can make it difficult to fabricate emotion. So in theory, this will cause a suspect to provide either a genuine response or a relatively obvious disingenuous response, which often comes in the pretense of shock or remorse.
I mean, I guess that's where my logic was at, but which is...
Well, I have to tell you
I
something.
think I know why you took the computer.
In the midst of what would have been a flawlessly executed moment, Detective Ed jumps back into the laptop mystery. The suspect has essentially confessed to murder. This really wasn't the time for regurgitated conjecture over a petty theft misdemeanor, which Ed was clearly being advised of once again through nonverbal communication.
Look at that look.
Why do you think?
You all right? You know?
You right? Are you done?
She's dead. You killed her, George.
That's the part that matters.
You killed her.
She's dead?
I think you knew that already.
No, I did not.
In our opinion, George is being truthful here, and we believe the interrogator feels the same way in this moment.
She's dead? How the fuck is she dead?
Because you killed her, George.
How the fuck is she dead?
Because you killed her.
George appears to be going through a delayed response. It's so foreign a revelation that it's yet to sink in. Once the shock settles, he refuses to accept it, and this denial appears to be a momentary coping mechanism before the reality of the situation truly hits him, which will happen at this time in the footage.
Oh, 20 minutes of your brain just... Well, I'm glad they got him.
She's dead?
Yes.
She's dead?
Yes.
She's dead?
She's dead.
How? How?
I already told you how. You already told us how as well.
Yeah, you basically
Just told
admitted to
us.
it yourself, buddy. Walked right in there.
Oh my god.
Just wanted to talk. Most expensive conversation of both your lives.
You went in there to talk with her, but it got out of control, right, George?
The detectives will now add further pressure to keep him talking. Suspects will often divulge information in these moments in the panicked attempt to save themselves, and in doing so can shut down a more credible storyline they haven't thought up yet.
The alcohol got a hold of you. You kicked in her door. She started to fight with you. You punched her in the head, or you cracked.
She's not dead.
You cracked her head. You cracked her head in the window or in the wall.
Not dead.
She is.
She's not dead.
I ain't BSing you right now. It's serious.
I want to see her.
George, look at me.
George.
She is dead.
You were not here to dance with us. You're here because she's dead.
Oh my goodness.
The alcohol.
I don't believe it. I don't believe
It's
it.
true.
Dude, I didn't. I don't believe
Just
that
admit
she's
it.
dead.
How did you?
I don't believe that she's dead. I don't believe that she's dead.
Did you punch her? Did you hit her?
How? She's. There's no way she's dead. She's not dead. I didn't. I never did anything. I did not.
All right, let's calm down.
I did not like hurt her. Like she's not dead.
Let him calm down.
Just out of protocol, what we gotta do is stand up for me, George. Go ahead, put your hands behind your back for me. Turn.
He's getting agitated.
Relax. It's all right.
Relax. You'll be alright.
Relax.
Tell me she's not dead. Tell me she's not dead, though. Please. Will you tell me she's not dead?
Relax.
Please, will you tell me
You
she's
know what?
not
I wish
dead?
I could tell you that, George. 22-year-old. 22. And her life is done.
Started her life.
She's not. I did not do anything like that.
Sounds like you did.
Oh my god. There's no way. There's no way. There's no way. I do not believe it. I do not believe it. There's no way. There's no way she could be dead.
Either the head trauma or asphyxiation.
There was no asphyxiation.
Okay.
Well, he knew her.
Oh my god.
Now he's
oh my
remembering
God.
everything he just admitted to.
What was she doing the last time you saw her?
She was like standing up with me. She was standing up with me. She was standing up with me, looking at me.
Was she standing or you were holding her?
She was standing up, looking at me.
Okay.
She's not dead. I know she's not dead. I know 100 million % she's not dead. I did. She cannot be dead.
I know it got out of hand, George.
No, it didn't. It did not. It didn't. And she's like, no, like, get away from me. You have to leave. You have to leave. I was like a little bit persistent. I mean,
Was she screaming?
she should have been.
She
I didn't
should have
kill her
been.
and leave. I didn't just. Oh my god. I didn't kill her. I did not kill her. I did not kill her. I did not. I did not. There's no way I didn't do it. No way. No way. I want a lawyer.
There.
I don't believe
Oh
this.
my god, finally gets there an hour in. The lawyer's not gonna do anything.
I don't believe this. What? No, there's no way. There's no way. There's no fucking way. So, should I talk to someone?
Who do you want to talk to?
Anyone. A lawyer.
One will get appointed to you.
Okay, what do I do now? Go to jail?
Yeah.
All right, George, right now, I know you no longer want to talk to us, that's fine, just let you know something. We're working on a search warrant right now, and what it is we're going to have to collect some stuff from you, like what's called a buccal swab, okay?
Hair, urine, nails.
Why did you guys come in and say you were searching for an assault?
I never said anything about an assault.
Someone came in this
I
morning.
never mentioned to you anything, just told you we're
That's what he
investigating
thought he was
someone.
guilty for.
Investigating so.
Do you want me to call anybody for you, George?
At the start of this video, you were asked to think of what you would do in this situation. Really try and imagine what would be going through your mind in this moment, as you might just gain a restorative outlook from both knowing the answer while not having to answer this particular question. But there is, of course, no possible way you will gain anything close to the newfound perspective George has acquired in this moment, which unfortunately for him is no longer of use.
Want me to call your dad?
This is, we call it mom.
Your mom? Is that who you'd like me to call?
I talk to her.
Sure, you get one call.
Talk to her.
I don't know about that.
Really? You get one call, don't you?
What's your mom's name? What's her number?
301-96.
How you do that?
Did you want me to call your dad? Or just her?
She'll tell her.
Hmm?
She can tell him everything.
Okay.
How?
Oh. In your 20s. Life's over. Because you thought you owned her.
I don't believe it. How there's no way she's gonna be dead. There's no way.
Calm down.
There's no way. There's no way. There's no.
I swear police love saying that. Calm down. Settle down, okay? Settle down.
George, go ahead, put your foot down.
Oh my God.
Yep.
These next few moments are a turning point. The leg irons seem to initiate a shift in his constitution, and his denial will completely cease from this point forward.
Holy
he will
cow.
continue to ask why and how, but he will no longer reject the severity of what is happening.
Yikes.
Oh my God.
Yup. Nothing and nobody to no one now.
Huh.
Heck of a day, bud.
Heck of a day, bud. It's the way she goes there, bud.
I ain't here the rest of my life.
I'm sorry?
Am I in here the rest of my life?
In this room?
No, in jail.
Oh, man.
I'm that guy, man.
Never said you were, bud.
Call my mom.
I'm sorry?
Call my mom.
No, he knows. Yeah, you do want to talk to her. Now's when you need your family the most, bud.
What is this guy?
Yeah.
Ed, get out of here. True that. Dropping knowledge bombs. Oof.
George was taken to the regional jail soon after this moment. He would go on to plead not guilty to murder and was held without bond for almost 2 years awaiting trial. It began on February 6, 2012.
Well, testimony is now underway in the murder trial of the former UVA lacrosse player accused of killing his ex-girlfriend.
For the first time, we have video of Hughley as he was led into the courtroom.
Contrary to his appearance in the days that followed his arrest for the murder of 22-year-old Yardley Love, he appeared pale, frail, and gaunt.
The prosecution presented a case that Hughley went to Love's apartment that night, busted through her bedroom door, and in some way struck her, causing blunt force trauma, which led to her death.
We've also learned that on that night, George Hughley was exchanging what were described as playful text messages with 3 other women. Those messages continued late into the night and even after the alleged attack.
Throughout this trial, Hughley has sat expressionless, almost stoic at the defense table.
Stoic?
All of that changed today. As this police interview was airing, Hughley began crying, was often pinching the bridge of his nose with his hands and looking down as he listened to the sound of his own hysterical voice. I did not kill her. I did not kill her. I did not. I did not.
In court Tuesday, Hughley's defense faced an uphill climb.
The most riveting testimony came from former UNC lacrosse player Michael Burns, who testified that one time while visiting UVA, he heard some yelling for help from Hughley's apartment. When he opened the door, he said he found Hughley with his arm wrapped around Love's neck, choking her. Hughley then let her go, and she ran out of the room, crying.
A variety of medical experts took the stand this Wednesday, and they all seemed to agree that Love's death was the result of blunt force trauma to the head. This was followed by highly distressing witness testimony from Yardley's neighbors.
The noise was so loud, this was such a violent death that they heard it downstairs, 2 separate witnesses, and it sounded like a stereo crashing to the ground.
And it certainly didn't help that the jury knew that she was alive for 2 hours before she died, indicating that if George Hughley had come to his senses, he could have gone back there, called 911, and possibly saved her life.
Still, the driving argument for the defense is that George Hughley never intended to kill. They say this was all a tragic accident, that he does not deserve a life sentence, but instead a lesser charge and a second chance.
Guilty of second-degree murder, and you will hear the sentence momentarily.
A 26-year prison
Good.
term came down.
George
Hell
Hughley
yeah.
was brought to court to hear his lawyers plead for the judge to cut in half the 26-year sentence recommended by the jury. Judge Edward Hogshire did trim it back, but by just 3 years.
The jury in this case recommended 26 years. The judge changed it to 23. Probably a small difference, but why would he do that?
It's surprising, isn't it, considering this is a woman who was beaten to death in her own bed.
We think that George was convicted of a crime inconsistent with the facts.
Oh, yeah?
And he received a penalty inconsistent with what the evidence would require.
Oh, okay.
There are no winners in this case.
With credit for the time that George Hughley has already served in jail, and if he gets time off for good behavior, he could be out in 18 years. And the family for Yardley Love has put out this statement saying, "We find no joy in other sorrow. We are relieved to put this chapter behind us."
As for George, he was incarcerated at the maximum security Augusta Correctional Center for 10 years, and has since been transferred to a prison work camp in Richmond, where he's expected to serve out the rest of his sentence. The present consensus in the media is that George had no intention of killing Yardley, but that his 23-year sentence is still appropriate, if not lenient, and that him being drunk to any degree at the time of the murder is not an excuse, nor does it lessen the culpability of his actions to any extent. He'll be released at the age of 45, meaning he will have the second chance at life Yardley was never afforded. You can decide for yourself whether he deserves it or not.
Damn.
A comforting prospect to this tragedy is the nonprofit organization that arose from it. The One Love Foundation carries extremely important messages, both on social psychology and preventative education. Their website will be linked in the description of this video.
Well, that's it. That's JCS, everybody. I don't know if you've seen it before, but holy cow, what an episode. That was insane. Oh my goodness. That was like an hour of just someone being torn apart by investigators. Oh my goodness. All right, well, it is 11 o'clock here. I think that's it, everybody. I think that's the end of the stream. I probably won't stream tomorrow. Probably hang out with family and make some delicious food. We're doing like a nice Hot Rocks dinner later tonight. I'm gonna cook up some moose. Yeah, cooking up some moose, baby. It's gonna be good. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna see what's going on around on Twitch. I think DJ Cruz is awake. Let's just double check. But yeah, thanks so much for the raid, Public Loser. I hope your quesadillas worked out really well. If you're coming in on the chat, if you don't know Public Loser, go check her out. And see if DJ Cruz is on. Yeah, he's so good. All right, let's go raid DJ Cruz, and then yeah. All right, I'll see you later, chat. Have a good one. Bye. Enjoy the nice vibes. Thanks for hanging out this morning. And yeah, I don't know. I hope you had lots of presents for other people's. And if you get any presents you're not sure how to receive, just say thank you and appreciate that they thought of you. Okay, bye everyone. I'll see you later. Au revoir.